This is Politics as Usual. I'm Pia Ontiveros. President Duterte is reportedly thinking about cutting ties with Iceland after it sponsored a United Nations Human Rights Council resolution that seeks an investigation of the Philippines' human rights situation. Speaking with us tonight on the phone from Davao is presidential spokesperson Salvador Salpanelo. Good evening, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Pia.
Sir, can you tell us exactly what happened that night that you asked President Duterte about his thoughts about this proposal from Senator Amy Marcos to cut ties with Iceland? Did you ask him what he thought of that? What were your exact words to him first?
His exact words were, I am seriously considering cutting diplomatic ties with Iceland.
Okay, and then did he explain why? Was there a conversation after that? Were there points that were raised?
Yeah, we obviously he heard our position on the matter and he agrees with it. I issued a statement and said that the resolution was grotesquely one-sided, outrageously narrow, and maliciously partisan, because the resolution was based on false information and unverified facts and figures.
Okay. Well, Secretary Panelo, that was last night, late last night, when you issued a statement.
That was last night, and he repeated it this morning.
He repeated it this morning?
Yeah, we had a discussion again on that.
And what did he say? Exactly the same thing? What did
Yeah, the same
what other
thing.
words did he say?
He said, I cannot even understand why Ireland is doing that, because he has been doing it. It has been doing that, I think, twice or thrice. This is the third time, because last year, I think, it also made negative comments on the human rights situation in the country.
So last night he said that he was thinking about cutting diplomatic ties with Iceland. This morning he said the same thing. Seriously considering. So hanggang ngayon, so is there a decision already, sir?
Wala pa. Yun pa lang sinabi niya rin.
Okay, so what is he waiting for? Is he going to consult Foreign Secretary Teddy Boy Locsin, for example? Is he going to talk to other people about this? What's going to happen?
No,
walk us through the process, sir. No?
That he doesn't consult us. It's when he makes a decision, he has already studied that.
Okay.
Either during the conversations in the cabinet meeting or during the statements issued by us, he already makes his own analysis of the same. Then he makes a decision.
And that is going to be the process that he's going to go through, because, I mean, after all, when you cut diplomatic ties with another country, no matter how small or big relations, and just to use very simple words, but how small or big relations are with them, it is still, an important step. After all, we're part of a family of nations, family of countries.
Yes, but there are also countries who are not part of the family of nations. There are, in fact, countries who withdrew from being member of the United Nations.
Okay.
But cutting diplomatic ties with Iceland will not affect us too much. For one, I don't think we have much trade relations, if any at all, with Iceland. And then we have about 2,000 Filipinos there. And the agreement that I know that has been entered into between the Philippines and Ireland was regarding geothermal.
Yeah.
And this agreement was entered too because both countries feel that it is beneficial to both of them. So even if there is a diplomatic secession of ties, I don't think it will affect the agreement.
So you're referring, sir, to the Biliran Geothermal Incorporated, a joint venture of Philippines and Iceland. Okay. All right. But earlier you said that the president won't need to consult anyone because he's already heard everything that's been said. So napag-usapan din po ito sa isang cabinet meeting?
No.
No. Okay.
But during short conversations between members of the cabinet.
Including Foreign Secretary Teddy Locsin.
Oh, yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Okay. But Secretary Locsin himself doesn't seem to be in agreement with this move to cut ties
No,
with
but-
Iceland.
There's a question of that because the first time he mentioned about cutting diplomatic ties was when he tweeted, and that is why he was quoted extensively by networks. And then I understand he made a correction later on. But subsequent to his original tweet, which I supported, the president already made a decision on seriously considering diplomatic ties.
The
So
president-
whatever statement made by any cabinet member, of course, anything that we say is based on what we thought to be the stand of the president. Because
Yeah.
he's already made policy statements prior. So any statement of us that will not be in consonance with the subsequent stand of the president will have to give way to the statement of the president.
Yeah.
Because he's the president, he's the principal, and we are just agents of the principal.
Yeah, the chief architect of Philippine foreign policy.
Yes.
Well, Secretary Panelo, did I hear you right? You said there is already a decision by the president on whether to cut ties or not with Iceland?
No,
Meron na po?
No, I
Did you
said
say-
the decision is he is seriously considering.
Still seriously
cutting
considering.
diplomatic ties.
But I'm sure you know, you have some clue as to when he will make an announcement because it's either yes or no, di ba? There has to be a statement from Malacanang
Well,
if this is going to
eventually-
happen or not.
Eventually, Pia, I think you will make a decision. Now, regarding relative to Secretary Teddy Boy Locsin's statement, I don't think there is a contradiction between his statement and the president, because
Really, how?
Secretary Teddy Boy said he does not consider severing ties, right? And the president is mulling to cut the ties. So there is no decision yet whether cut the tie or not. The president is saying he's thinking it over, while the other secretary is saying that as far as he's concerned, he doesn't want.
Secretary Panelo, you're saying na pareho lang yung statement nila kasi wala pa namang decision.
Well, exactly. Kaya walang contradiction.
Talaga? That sounds interesting.
But after
Yeah.
all, the president is the chief architect, so whatever he says, he will toe the line.
Okay. So when is the president going to make a decision? Because in the meantime, everything's just hanging in the balance.
Well, I'll ask him tonight. We'll be meeting tonight.
Around what time is that going to be, sir?
At 10 o'clock, he will be interviewed live by the Kibuloy radio station, I think, or TV station.
Oh, so he might make an announcement then
Most
during the
likely.
interview? Really?
Most likely.
Okay. In the meantime, sir, there may be no Philippine embassy in Iceland, but the embassy in Oslo, Norway, covers Iceland and two other nations, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So how, so paano yan? What's going to happen? Like, for example, sir, no, in the future, if there is another country that does something or moves against the Philippines in any manner or form on any issue, are we going to get similar pronouncements from Malacanang that, let's cut ties with this country? Ganun po ba,
But,
sir?
yeah, that's always the call of the president.
Uh-huh.
If he feels that we should, then he will.
Okay. Okay. All right. So what we're saying is there is a possibility that the Philippines will announce a severance of diplomatic ties with Iceland, and we're saying that there will be no real impact because, for one, like you said, there are quote unquote only 2,000 Filipinos living and working there, and there are like one or two investments of Iceland here in the Philippines. Ganun po ba, sir? Is that how we're supposed to understand things? That
Yes,
it
I
won't
think so.
matter. In other words, kumbaga, wala yan, parang ganon. Is that how we're supposed to understand this? Parang walang kwenta din yan, ganon?
Hindi na sa walang kwenta, kundi balit na bagay na hindi dapat masyadong bigyan ng attention. Unang-una, just like for instance, kung Japan pa yan, where we are involved in so many trade relations with them, baka mag-iisip ka ng gusto, di ba? Pero kung Iceland, halos wala naman.
Okay,
At saka yung kontrata pa, beneficial sa both countries. So, wala problema.
yeah, okay. So,
Ang ayaw lang natin kasi, Pia, we don't want the Iceland will be initiating a resolution based on chismis. Kasi we feel na we are a sovereign state. Iceland is one. So, as a matter of civility and courtesy, dapat nagpo-communicate sila bago sila gumawa ng masamang hakbang against us. Pwede naman sila tumulat sa atin. We can always respond kung anong concern nila.
Okay. Secretary Panelo, you said a while ago, for example, kung Japan, no, we're not going to cut ties with Japan dahil masyadong maraming,
Marami tayong doon, agreement, masyadong malalim ang relasyon natin.
okay. Well, can you give us a list, for example, of countries that we will not consider cutting ties?
Hindi, binibigyan lang kita ng
Example,
na
yon.
kung
Yeah, no,
masyadong
but-
mabigat ang
yeah.
ating trade relation, siguro, kukonsider natin kasi maraming maapektuhan.
Kasi ang iniisip lang po natin, baka in the future meron pang mga ganito. So, para bang maghanda na lang tayo na pamisa-minsan we're going to be severing ties with any other country for you know, if they decide to move against the Philippines.
Hindi, ang basis naman natin palagi will be the interest of our country. Like for instance, hindi ba na the president threatened to cut diplomatic ties to sa isang saan nga ba yun? Isang Arabian country. Because doon sa mga overseas workers natin na nasisiyado.
Okay. But, you know, Iceland was one of 18 countries that said yes to that resolution. So are we going to go through the list of these countries and then decide which ones we should cut ties with? Or we're just going to focus on Iceland? Ganun po ba?
Hindi pa natin alam yan eh. We will have to wait for the president to decide whether or not we will cut ties ultimately with Iceland.
Okay.
Kasi ang tingin namin dyan, some activists may have fed Iceland with the wrong info. And by reason of this information, ito namang Iceland nag-initiate, and then yung mga sumunod naman sa kanya also were astray in believing what Iceland was sponsoring.
Yeah. Well, sir, when you say some activists, sino pa yung tinutukoy ninyo? Pangalanan na lang po natin kasi baka bisita ko po ngayon.
Ay, hindi. Basta ang alam ko, meron dyan na mga sa Amnesty International. So yung mga contract yung presidente.
Okay. Sir, by the way, no, just in case there is an investigation, no, paano po ang scenario? Papapasukin po ba natin yung mga UN investigators dito sa Pilipinas? How will the Duterte administration handle that?
Well, hindi ba sinabi ni Secretary Teddy Boy Locsin, hindi sila papasukin?
Paano po natin sila harangin sa airport, halimbawa?
Bakit naman, unang-una, pag immigration pa lang, hindi na sila makapasok.
Sa immigration sa harangin or doon pa lang sa country nila, sir?
You must remember that we have the country as an absolute authority to deny entry to any foreigner.
Oo.
Okay. May problema na sila.
That's why I'm trying to understand how we're going to do it. So for example, sir, from their country of origin, syempre, mag-a-apply po sila ng visa papunta dito, no? Unless libre lang yung, pwedeng walang visa. So doon pa lang, kung saan sila manggagaling, malalaman po ba ng mga embahada ng Pilipinas na, ito, United Nations investigator ito, hindi na natin to bibigyan ng visa. Ganun po ba mangyayari?
Hindi, siyempre, di ba? When you apply for a visa, you state your purpose for your visit.
Yeah.
Okay. Diba?
So pag sinabing to investigate the Philippine drug war, denied ka, ganon.
Denied ka agad yun.
Denied. Okay. Sige. Well, anyway, Secretary Sal Panelo, sir, thank you very much for joining us on the phone from Davao. We're taking a quick break. Politics as usual. Be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to Politics as usual. On the phone, Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa, who as former chief of the Philippine National Police was chief architect of the war on drugs. Senator de la Rosa, thank you for joining us. I understand you're in Davao, sir, with the President.
Wala ako, nasa Davao ko, nasa Davao ko ngayon.
Oh, kasama po ni Presidente.
Hindi, nasa Tagum siya ngayon.
I'm at Tagum. Nasa Davao City po kayo.
Davao City ako.
Okay. Well, Senator De La Rosa, last week po, nag-guest po kayo dito at napag-usapan po natin a possible investigation, United Nations, etc. At marami po kayong sinabi. The summary is that, ang sinasabi po niyo, ba't natin sila papapasukin, hindi mangyayari yan, they cannot assume jurisdiction over us. That is still your position.
Wala ko, nagdidepende ako kay Presidente Pia. Kung papayag siya papasukin, okay lang ako. Kung ayaw niya, okay lang rin ako. So, depende yan sa kanya.
Oo. Nag-develop kasi yung story in the last 2 days, ang pinag-uusapan na ngayon that the President is thinking about or seriously considering cutting diplomatic ties with Iceland, which sponsored that resolution sa UNHRC. What do you think of that, sir? I mean, you are now a senator, so ang pinag-uusapan dito, cutting diplomatic ties with another country over a resolution like this.
Okay lang ako dyan. That's the prerogative of the President.
Mm-hmm. Oh, when you say
Gusto
okay
niya
lang, yeah. Why do you say okay lang? Apart from that being the prerogative of the President, because we all know, no, Chief Architect of Philippine foreign policy, he can make those decisions. So why else is it all right for us to cut diplomatic ties with a country, with another country?
Well, kasi itong mga tao na ito nagpapaloko sa mga informant nila. So, hindi man lang nagtatanong sa atin bakit diretso sila nagpapayal ng resolution. Dapat lang rin siguro kung mamarabati ni Presidente, okay lang sa akin kung putulin natin ang tayo sa kanila.
Mm-hmm. Should we also do that, sir, for other countries kapag halimbawa merong ganoon, let's say another country moves against the Philippines in a similar fashion, is that how we should also deal with something like this?
Well, depende kay Presidente yan, Pia. It's about time that we stand up as a nation. Huwag tayo magpapatakot dyan sa mga ibang bansa na yan. Bakit tayo magpapa-under sa kanila? O kung anong tingin ang ating Presidente na dapat gawin niya.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So in other words, you see this as nagpapa-under, para bang we are allowing ourselves to be dictated upon by another country or other countries in this case?
Ano ba yan? Paghihimasok nila. Gusto na pahimasukan yung ating domestic affairs. Mm-hmm. Bakit sila naniniwala dyan sa mga gustong gumiba ng ating bansa? Yung mga tao na yan na nagbibigay sa kanila ng impormasyon na misleading ay pumunta yan sa kanila dahil hindi na makakuha ng suporta dito sa atin kasi locally walang naniniwala sa kanila. Kaya ordinaryong Pilipino hindi naniniwala sa kanila kaya doon na sila umanap ng suporta abroad.
Mm-hmm. Sir, are you saying that the Philippines knows best how to handle this war on drugs and not another country like Iceland, for example?
Yes. Why do they have to dictate on us? Gusto nila yung values nila i-impose nila sa atin. Sino sila para mag-impose sa atin ng standards?
Mm-hmm. But human rights also, or respect for human rights is also a value, sir.
Yes, value yan. Value yan. Sabi ko nga, wala tayo tinatago. Kung meron man, kung papayag man si Presidente na pag-imbestigahan, okay lang rin sa akin para malaman nila na sila yung niluluko sa kanilang mga contact dito sa Pilipinas. Isipin mo, ang claim nila, 27,000 na daw yung napatay sa war on drugs. In fact, sa real numbers naman ng PNP at ng Malacanang, 6,000 plus pa lang yung napatay.
So, anong ibig sabihin? Malaking panluloko yung ginawa ng kanilang informasyon para lang talagang makakuha sila, maengganyo silang magpa-imbestiga sa Pilipinas. For all you know, yung mga patay na yan na pinapakita ng numero, mga namatay na yan siguro sa vehicular accident, namatay yan sa sakit sa puso, hindi yan namatay sa war on drugs.
All right.
Oh.
Okay. Senator Bato de la Rosa, sir, thank you very much for taking our call. We're taking a final quick break. Politics as usual. Be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to Politics as usual. I'm Pio Ontiveros. We have with us here in the studio Cristina Palabay. She is the Secretary General of Karapatan, and Attorney Edre Olalia of the National Union of People's Lawyers, President of the NUPL. Good evening, Tina and Edre. Thank you very much.
Good evening.
Attorney Edre, thank you very much for being here. Well, let's begin with this whole business of cutting diplomatic ties with Iceland because of this resolution. What do you think of that, Tina?
Well, as Senator Bato has said, it's the President's prerogative. No? But at the same time, tingin po namin tirang pikon ito no? Because just because a country, a government initiated something that is in consonant, it is in consonance with the international human rights law and instruments. It should not be a cause for such actions. But however, our government is different. President Duterte has a different take on countries or any actor, for that matter, who looks into human rights principles, especially our compliance to international human rights instruments.
Tirang pikon, ha? Attorney Edre, kayo naman.
Yeah, I do agree. Medyo sore loser because they participated in the voting. It's quite childish and also selective because there are in fact 40 other countries. On top of the 18 who voted, there are 23 other states who are non-voting but are observers in the council that openly supported the resolution of Iceland.
Okay. Earlier we were speaking to Sal Panelo, Sec Sal Panelo, and yung ano, Senator Bato de la Rosa, and they're both saying na ano ba naman in simple language, ano ba naman ang alam ng Iceland sa nangyayari dito sa Pilipinas, no? How we handle the drug war, how we go after these drug cartels. What do you think of that? Na dapat wala silang pakialam kasi sovereign nation tayo. This is our internal policy.
Fallacious yan kasi in the first place, we are a member of the council. We campaigned, and as a matter of fact, 4 terms na yata ang Pilipinas, ano? Tapos party tied to several international human rights instruments. And besides, Iceland and the other countries that voted and supported it openly are in receipt of all information from all sources. In fact, even from the government. They went on a massive and feverish campaign in Geneva, here in the embassies, and even in New York. So we cannot say that they are only in receipt of one side. So
They heard all sides.
yeah, they receive all sides and they weigh it. In fact, it was only Iceland that initiated, but there are in fact other states that supported the resolution.
Tina, yung ganung paliwanag, no, na wala namang alam ang Iceland or yung ibang countries, no, that voted alongside it sa nangyari dito sa Pilipinas and how we handle the drug war.
Well, the resolution doesn't even say na these countries are claiming that they have full knowledge on the issues. That's why it was carefully crafted. The letter of the resolution says that there are reports. They are in receipt of reports, meaning from both sides of the issue, from the government and from national from NGOs, from the CHR perhaps. So tingin po namin yung nangyari, yung mga ginawang misinformation, actually it's the government that has been going on misinformation.
Baliktad daw misinformation daw, chismis yung nakuha doon sa mga anti-government.
These are the same information na isinalang po dun sa Universal Periodic Review tungkol sa
Okay.
Pilipinas. That was in 2017.
Yeah.
And since then, we know that there have been several communications, even of the UN, of the UN Human Rights Council, with the Philippine government.
Yeah.
Makikita po yan sa website ng UN mismo.
Okay. My final question is that earlier I was asking Sal Panelo, no? So paano yon na halimbawa matuloy itong investigasyon, no? Pupunta siguro dito ang mga UN human rights investigators, ano? Paano po mangyayari? Papapasukin po ba natin, harangin sa immigrations or hindi bibigyan ng visa? And basically, Sal Panelo, malalaman naman natin kung ano yung dahilan nila, ba't nila gusto ng visa. So, denied visa application halimbawa or harang sa immigrations.
May alternative way. Merong office ang UN Commissioner, High Commissioner on Human Rights sa Bangkok, Thailand. They've done this before, no? So, in case they are not allowed to enter our country, there are ways by which information from all sides can be taken. So,
Like how? They can summon people
yes, they
there?
can
Ganon?
invite people.
Invite
People.
In other words, let's say they summon Senator Bato de la Rosa as former chief PNP. Ganun ba yun?
Well, there is no legal.
But there is no legal.
There's no legal sanction, so it's all voluntary. But that's the call of the government. If it doesn't participate, then they cannot fault these people if they have only in their possession information from non-government sources.
Okay, final question na. But you know, the Duterte administration says, well, we don't recognize that resolution. We don't recognize that vote. Wala silang pakialam sa atin. Minimal ang diplomatic relations natin sa Iceland at iba pang mga countries, no? So how do we understand that?
Well, it's ultimately the call of the government, no? But we are still calling on President Duterte and the Philippine government to cooperate to allow the entry nung mga ipapadala
Ayaw
pong
na
country
nga eh.
missions.
Ayaw na.
Kaya lang,
Yeah.
nagwe-waiver sila from time to time
Okay.
because it also speaks on the position of the president in relation to the relationships sa ibang bansa. At the same time, may tinatawag din pong remote fact-finding
Yung binanggit na nga ni Atty.
protocol, yung Office of the High Commissioner on Human Rights to draw up reports. So,
Yeah.
it's ultimately the Philippines' call. Sa totoo lang, if it cannot cooperate, the Philippine government cannot cooperate with this process, then it has really no business staying at the UN Human Rights Council. Kasi
Mabuti na umalis doon. You're
sa
saying.
tingin po namin, opo,
Okay.
kasi
Alright.
ipokritohan na lang.
Okay,
ang nangyayari.
well, let's see what happens. Like Sal Panelo was saying, there's a possibility the president will make an announcement tonight about whether the Philippines cuts ties with Iceland, which sponsored that resolution at the UN HRC. Thank you to our guests, Tina Palabay of Karapatan and Attorney Edo Eulalia of NUPL. Maraming salamat. Thank you for being
Salamat.
here and thank you for watching. I'm Pia Ontiveros. This is Politics as Usual.